Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is ripples and how we really never know the ultimate impact of our words or actions, and recognizing the impact that we have or the power of our impact. Let's look at how that can potentially shape our way of being. So it should be an interesting conversation, but before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs and flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any negativity, stress, tension, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, energizing all your cells, all your molecules, all your electrons, and lighting you up from the inside out. And as you exhale any remaining stress, negativity, tension, fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together and very, very softly rub your fingers against your palms to feel the deliciousness of that sensation, and bring yourselves present right here, right now, to these marvelous bodies that enable us to experience life. So welcome. Good morning, Rosalind. So good to have you starting off my day. I so appreciate you. Thank you. And everyone else that's joining us, welcome. Today the topic is ripples, and how we really don't know the breadth of the impact that we have in the world, and where just the simplest offhand comment could be life-altering to somebody. And when we are aware of that, and when we live into the impact that our presence has, we get to look at how might that change our way of being. And so there's a story about someone who smiled at someone in the grocery aisle one day and said something kind, and found out, I don't know if it was right in that interaction or found out later, that that person was kind of on the brink of committing suicide. And that one gesture of kindness, of kindness, connection, recognition, was enough to shift them out of that intention, and to revitalize them. And so if we can imagine that something as simple as a smile or a kind hello or a kind word can be that impactful, just imagine what our unpleasant words could be doing, and what even greater acts of connection might ripple out into the world in terms of impact. And there's a man who is a really lovely, brilliant, talented visionary named Ken Macarthur. And he's so committed to other people and their well-being and their evolution. And he wrote a book called Impact. And I know Ken, he's really one of the most heartfelt humans I think I've ever had the privilege to know. And what he talks about is we all make an impact. Perhaps instead of ripples, I should have called it impact for today, but we all make an impact whether we think we do or not. And we can be making an impact as in things as simple as the way that we interact with people in our daily transactions, whether it's dealing with someone on the phone or in a business, or just that we pass in the street, that we all make an impact. And one of the things that we've talked about in the past is how emotions are contagious. And that good morning, Bernadette, welcome. So good to have you here with us. We're talking about ripples and impact, actually, and how when I've talked in the past about how a smile to someone is catching, right? So oftentimes in a grocery store, for instance, because that's where I find myself in the context of other people most often. And thankfully, we're not having to wear masks all the time anymore, because we can smile and see each other smile. And that's a form of communication and connection. And even just a smile usually provokes a smile. So usually in response to a smile, we get a smile returned. And that can be uplifting, from like the kindness of strangers kind of thing is so powerful and impactful to make us feel connected to something larger. And what an impact that can have. It can have a ripple effect, right? It's kind of like pay it forward, right? Where one act of kindness begets others. And we can precipitate change. And we do, whether we recognize it consciously or not, we do have an impact. So when we're less than kind, that's impacting another person, and that person may then be interacting with other people out of, or in response to, in reaction to that initial interaction, right? So if we are aware, like so many of us go through life believing that we don't make a difference. And we do in all kinds of ways. It doesn't have to be in a way that is overtly world changing, that it doesn't have to be that we're creating world peace, for instance, but we do create an impact all the time. And I've had situations where I've had a conversation with somebody that was just so lovely on a service call kind of thing, where I'm calling for assistance with something, and the person was so lovely, it made such a difference. Or I've talked to people that were really grumpy, and I've had the presence to say, you having a rough day, and turn that around so that person feels seen and heard. Bernadette says, I love when I'm in the grocery store and I run into someone I know and they ask what I'm doing. So I feel a giggle come up and I say, hunting rabbits. Humor is my favorite and smiles go a mile. Absolutely, because obviously the grocery store is the place to hunt rabbits, right? That's funny, Bernadette. So, but indeed, smiles go a mile at least, and provoke other smiles. And when we allow ourselves to recognize our impact, then I think that there's a different level of presence. Good morning, Lisa. So good to see you. We missed you. Welcome back. I think that there is a place of presence that can shift when we recognize our impact. So that maybe it's the thought of other people watching, so to speak, but even when we're alone, I believe that we create an impact. When we are in a higher frequency, we are impacting the field. In a lower frequency too, whatever our frequency is, we're impacting the field. And as the field is impacting us. And so when we recognize that we are part of a larger matrix of the interrelationship, then I think we tend to show up differently. I think we tend to show up more from our best selves. When we believe that we are in isolation, that we have no impact, that we are disconnected, then we act in ways that are often disconnected and self-serving, or I think probably self-serving in ways that we wouldn't otherwise. So I'm curious what your experience is of this. Like when we recognize, I think that a lot of us sort of are in a oh, this is very cute. So Lisa says, my African gray, Gracie, is kissing you on the phone. Well, please kiss Gracie for me. Lucky for you to have an African gray. I understand that they are the smartest birds on the planet, at least as far as we know. So Gracie's got to be such a delight, I'm sure. Anyway, when we think about how we might be impacting others and the impact that we're making even on the field, when we're aware of that connection, I think that our beingness, our behavior potentially shifts. Because, you know, if nobody sees and nobody hears, then, or we don't make a difference, then we can act as however we act. So Bernadette says, as humans, we're not meant to be alone. When I find things that are uplifting and bring a sense of comfort. You know, it's interesting, Bernadette, I spend a lot of time alone, but I'm not really alone because I have Maggie and I have my cat Jewel. And I also feel the connection that I have to others. When I lose the connection to others, that's when things get particularly dark. So Lisa says, I have two African grays. Wow. And she just said, it's true. Oh, that's so funny. That's wild, Lisa. Very cool. I wonder how they get along with each other. I've heard that if you have more than one bird, they tend to be more bird and less people bird. So I don't know if that's true or not true. Rosalind says, stepping into a manager role is something I never thought of or felt capable of. I'm starting to shift, which is opening to become an influence at the workplace. That's awesome, Rosalind. And exactly, you know, so here's the thing to notice is that you are already an influence in the workplace. The way that you act and interact with others is, you can be providing a manager persona, and I don't mean telling people what to do necessarily, but the strength of leadership that is inherent to management, or should be anyway, right? In an ideal world. And you can exhibit that behavior and that level of responsibility and accountability and connection and all of that good stuff, no matter what your position. And then it makes you become an impactful part of a team. And that's where you would get seen to be able to be promoted to a position of manager, for example, because you exhibit those qualities already. And Lisa is talking about her African Grays. They don't get along. Gracie's the flock leader and has a rival relationship with Caesar. Okay, so like battling siblings. So Bernadette says, teamwork is the dream work. Yes, teamwork makes the dream work too, right? And I think that teamwork is something that is inspired in leadership, and we don't have to be in a traditional leadership role to be leading through example, for example. And so we get to be looking at the ripples of our beingness, how we be and how we interact, and how that ripples out and impacts others, who then impact others, who then impact others. And I think one of the most obvious kinds of examples is the pay it forward type idea, where somebody has impacted you in a positive way, and you get to share that impact forward. And that's rewarding. It's rewarding for the person who's receiving the impact and the person who's sharing the impact. Ideally, not if we're trying to steamroll other people, or not if we're trying to dominate or control, but by simply sharing a level of beingness, that it does ripple. And it's so interesting when every now and then, actually more than that, but the clients feed back to me, I was thinking about what you said. And sometimes those things that I said, it's like, well, what is it that I said? And sometimes those things that I said were things that didn't even register in my awareness. And yet here they've had a dramatic impact on the person who took that information and utilized it and then shared it further, or that recommendation, whatever it was. So we don't know how far those ripples go. And so Bernadette says, we also teach people how to treat us. 100%. That's such an important lesson when we recognize that, that when we can take responsibility for that, then life can shift dramatically. So Bernadette continues, so if we come in on a higher vibration and it trickles down to uplift those who may not be feeling or within the higher vibration. Exactly. And that's kind of like the smile thing, to be helping to shift someone from being in a funk to being seen, to be smiling, to be saying hello to. So it wasn't that long ago that I was at a mall. I was getting my phone fixed. And there was this big guy. He had to be, I don't know, at least 6'4". And he was a big guy. And he was standing there with his arms crossed and looking really bad, really like a tough dude, and with serious attitude. And he was there waiting for some kind of phone service as well. And I just sort of poked him and I said, hey, smile. And he just broke into this most glorious, beautiful smile. And it was transformative. It was memorable for me to be able to see what an incredible transformation. And it was such a cool moment to experience that transformation. It was radical. It was really, really, really cool. And to see that something so simple, because he didn't go back to being the tough guy. All of a sudden he was this giant teddy bear. And I said, wow, you have such a beautiful smile. And I'm sure that took him so by surprise, that he just did not know how to respond other than to light up, because he got seen. Thank you, Bernadette. It was really beautiful. It really, truly was. And look at how powerful we are. What a powerful impact. And here this guy got to be showing his bright light, just because somebody came over and nudged him. So we don't know the impact that we have. I like I said, on these service phone calls, oftentimes we can be really grumpy and dissatisfied and challenging and upset and all of that stuff. And in this, when we're aware of our impact, maybe we can connect with that person on the other end, because they're not just a service bot. They're a human being over there. And to be able to connect human to human, I think it can change the world. I think that it's our disconnection from one another that enables us to do horrific things. It's disconnection that allows people to abuse other people, whether it's to make abusive business decisions. It's because, like companies that are fine with dumping their toxic waste in public aquifers, or just destroying the environment. Why are they able to do that? Because they're completely disconnected from the impact of what they're up to. And they're disconnected from other human beings that are suffering the consequences of their actions. And so if we recognize our impact, then maybe we'll behave differently. Maybe we will give that smile. Maybe we will treat people with greater kindness, and then that can propagate outwards, right? Maybe we'll make business decisions that are more conscientious, when we recognize that we do make a difference, we do have an impact, and that we're not isolated entities, that we're all actually interconnected in ways that we don't even realize. So Lisa says, I remember being told to treat others the way you want to be treated. What happened to that? Well, so the thing is that a lot of people don't even, so many people are acclimated to being treated poorly, right? That's how they think they deserve to be treated, which is really unfortunate. But I agree with you. If we were to treat people the way that we would like people to treat us, then, and we had a high standard for how we'd like to be treated, that's not a minor detail, right? Then the world would be a different place. So if we recognize others as ourselves as an extension of ourselves, if we recognize that, in fact, I say, in fact, this is my belief. I don't know if it's true. It's one of my working hypotheses. But if we recognize that we are all of it, that we are all inextricably linked to one another, we are all connected. If we believe that and we know that, then we must be behaving differently. We must. Bernadette says, "You make a difference in my mornings." So inspiring, such great conversations, such wonderful people here. Love the space. Bernadette, you just made my day. Thank you. You make my mornings too. And I'm so grateful to you and to all of you who show up and share or just listen, and we don't even know you're listening. But to be engaging in these conversations and maybe to be carrying these ideas into your day, it and to be more mindful, more present, more alert, more connected. What more could we ask? Isn't that a gift? So I'm so grateful to you for the gift that you give me. And Rosalind says, morning musings. Thank you. And thank you. It means so much to me to have you showing up, to be able to have this engagement, because we really do get to be all hands on ship, or I don't even know if that's the right way to say it, all hands on board, to really be creating the world that we want to live in. And we do have the capability to make it happen. I just believe that, or I couldn't continue. So anyway, that's it for this morning. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. And I go live here each weekday morning on the Enlightened World Facebook page at 9 a.m. Eastern. Please check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network on their Facebook page, as well as Enlightened World Living and EWN, One with the Earth. And I wish you a really beautiful day. Let's make not just ripples, but let's make waves. So much